We are bumping. And the light started on green. That's good. Green means go. Green means cash. Green means feeling good. Make some dough. I should have said make some dough after green means go. That was the move. I would start the stream over, honestly, but it's just a little too much work. I am excited for football talk today. We're going to go through all the games like we do every Friday. No big UFC card this weekend to get in the way, so we're going to dive all the way into football. We're going to turn this train around. Our picks have been good lately in everything except football. Football hasn't been terrible. We haven't had a week where we lost everything, but it hasn't been up to par. We've been killing basketball, absolutely slaying the dragon. And we'll take a break from that to try to figure out football this week. I'm doing some unpopular things maybe. I'm trying to break the mold. Trying to do something a little bit different here. And follow some trends that I know exist and also stick to my gut. We will see if that's good or bad. But yesterday, we started off hot. The Thursday picks, man, we took parlay of Patriots money line against the Falcons. They went 25-0. Plus the Warriors at the Cavs. They won the fourth quarter 36-8. So we're good there. Minus 185, that hits. Straight up, we took the Grizzlies. Was a pick'em at home against the Clippers, who were majorly injured. Grizzlies pull away at the end, win by 12. No problem. Mwah. Long shot parlay of the night. We left it on the table for you all at the end of yesterday's stream. Go back if you need proof. MikeTheMush on Twitch and YouTube. Patriots -6 at the Falcons. They win 25-0. No problem. St. Bonaventure versus Boise State on a neutral court, and it felt like that was a road line, even though it was a neutral court. Bonnies win. Love the Bonnies. West Virginia takes care of business at home against Elon. Never a problem. And Kansas covers the 24-point spread against Stony Brook. I've been saying it for a while. If you can get these top teams that can win the championship at somewhere between 19 and 24 instead of 30 plus, I really like that. Stony Brook is not a good basketball team. This game was close for way too long, and then Kansas wins the second half 50-27, just further cementing like, oh, they can put their foot down on the gas pedal if they want to. Really feels good. We sweep the whole thing. A minus 185, a minus 110, and a plus 410, and we get it all. We get it all. But last week we got overconfident before we did picks. This week, not so much. I put a lot more time, thought, and energy into these picks, and you got to stay humble. You got to know that the gods understand. When you get too cocky, they got to slap you out of line, and that's what's been happening. We're going to avoid some of the trap games that I've identified in some ways. We're going to tinker with some lines. We got some good picks out there. We do. A couple quick stories before we dive in. I gotta rep my dude. Jim Calhoun. Of course I have a shirt with his face on it. It's very sad to see him retire again. He's retiring from St. Joseph. I want to do a longer episode on him eventually. That'll probably be a Wednesday one when I talk about UConn basketball and how much Jim Calhoun means to the world and Big East and all that kind of stuff, because I love it. If you've been watching, you know that Wednesdays might be our wild card day where we just pick a topic and go deep into that rather than talk about the actual games. But Jim Calhoun not only had a perfect UConn career, bringing them up to a superpower, but he's my favorite coach of all time because he's so tough and he's such a classic. He just has that old school tough mentality, Boston Irish vibe. And I'm not a Boston guy, but Jim is the only one that I'll allow. And then he leaves UConn, he's done, and he just gets the itch. He's an older guy, he gets in that bad bike accident, he has cancer, he's had some health issues, and he rallies through all of it, beats it all back, and decides to go take a coaching job at Division III St. Joseph. New program. He brought them to actual relevancy. He has led the program to a 47-17 record, including a conference title and an appearance in the NCAA Division III tournament in 2020. I don't even think this was a program before he gets there. Thankfully, He says his health was not a factor in this. It's just very cool that he gets to ride off in the sunset, succeeding at yet another program, proving that UConn was nothing before he got there either. He's the best builder of programs that the sport has ever seen. And he deserves a ton of respect, not only for the titles and all the pros he sent to the league, which is a ridiculous amount, but for this second go-around, I think it's cooler than people gave it credit for. It's Division III, but he built a program from absolutely nothing again. And he gets to go out on top without health taking him out. I thought he would have coached until he died, to be honest, and I'm kind of glad that he gets to put a bow on this second act. I love Jim Calhoun a lot. Big fan. Go Jim. I talked to him once, briefly. I caught him outside after a practice or something. I was walking back from class at UConn, and I knew I wanted to say something to him aside from big fan or hey coach or whatever. But I did say hey coach because it just sounded cool. And then I remember we just talked about something about Stanley Robinson and looking for alley-oops at the time, I think, with the UConn team. I just gave him a straight-up take that I could give him. And he indulged me for at least 30 seconds to a minute and was nice enough to stop and give me a real thoughtful answer, and I just thought that was cool. It was a nice interaction that I had with a guy who, in the coaching game, is a hero to me. So, love Jim. Also, in slightly different news, 17 years ago today, Malice in the Palace. I found it really funny that if you watch this video, and I'll put it full screen, I don't think copyright will matter because it's a quick Twitter video. Look at this guy. I mean, it's hard to see because it's all stretched out, but he really does look like Turtle from Entourage. A lot of people tweet about that all the time, and he gets absolutely creamed by Ron Artest. Bang! Turtle goes down. Turtle absolutely gets rolled. Bang. But it's obviously not actually Turtle, and Jerry Ferrara really tweeted. It's that time of year, since the dawn of social media, I've been saying that is not me squaring up with anyone at the Palace. Absolutely hilarious that he actually takes it into consideration. But yeah, 17 years since this, and we didn't even get to the best part, which is Jermaine O'Neal's flying Falcon Punch. All the Super Smash players out there understand. Look at this. He just comes in sliding. Boom! Woo! Oh, God. He's a big boy. The Falcon Punch, literally. I mean, there's got to be a GIF. Just obviously has to be. Falcon Punch, dude. That's it. That's it. I got to move myself. There it is. Falcon Punch. Look at that. That's what Jermaine O'Neal did to a person. It's crazy that happened. We could go back and do a Wednesday episode on that, too, or a Throwback Thursday episode. Maybe that makes more sense. But Wildcard Wednesday sounds nice. And Thursday we have football. I don't know. Whatever. That'll be an interesting one to go back to, because I always like to look at what that team was like. But we don't have time today. It's a football day. Staying on track. Trying. This is so... I mean, give me a break. This guy, Antonio Brown, just does nothing right over and over and over and over. He's an awesome player, so everyone looks the other way. He screws up time and time again. And for as much of a golden boy as Tom Brady is, he keeps taking back in Antonio Brown. And why does he not get any negative flack for that? I feel like he gets nothing. Brown is... I mean, I never met him. But he sure seems like an awful guy with all the stuff he's gone through. Now he's making fake COVID vax cards to trick the team. We'll see what happens with this. I don't need to go into how Antonio Brown is a piece of crap. And if you want to listen to all the issues I have with the NFL, either go back to yesterday. I started the stream with a Zach Stacy rant for a while. Or go back to Wednesday when I did a whole episode on my favorite league, which is the NBA and not the NFL. And I have a million reasons, so go back and check it out on YouTube or Twitch. MikeTheMush on both. This is just another thing. It's like, God, there's so many bad people in the NFL, but I really think Brady deserves a little bit of flack for choosing this guy, personally, over everybody else and ignoring all the bad stuff he's done. You know? It's not great. And nobody seems to talk about that. But this is just ridiculous. We don't need to spend time on it. The baseball MVP awards came out. I want to talk about it quickly. I don't care that much about awards, if I'm being honest. MVP is fun. Cy Young is fun. But I don't lose sleep over it. I know that sometimes the MVP isn't the best player, and sometimes it shouldn't be the best player. That's a hot take. I really do think you need to be valuable to a semi-winning team, and neither of our MVPs did this year. There's a part of me that would have voted for Vlad over Ohtani. I really probably would have. And we'll pull up his stats too, because I didn't do it. Guerrero. I can't roll ours. It's a thing I've not liked about myself forever. Yeah. So Ohtani's hitting 257, 46 homers, 965. Vlad, 290. Oh, this is this is Vlad's dad. I'm like, he didn't play in Baltimore. 311, 1,000 OPS, which is about 50 points higher, almost about 50 points higher in the batting average. Same number of homers, more ribbies, more runs. Look, Vlad is a better hitter than Shohei Ohtani. Okay? That's not a knock on Ohtani. It's just not. Ohtani's unbelievable at pitching. I have no problem with the award going to him. I get it. He had a great year on the mound. And we're going to look back and be like, yeah, that makes sense. Remember when he went two ways and was just so dominant? But, and look, Toronto didn't make the playoffs either. If Toronto made the playoffs, I would have given it to Vlad because I watched him carry that team a lot. And that matters to me, especially in baseball when it's really hard to carry your team as one player. And that's why sometimes the MVP probably goes to other people. But I just don't enjoy losing players getting it. I don't. And the Angels have been terrible, and it's not Ohtani's fault at all. If Toronto made the playoffs, I would have given it to Vlad. This, I'm okay with giving it to Ohtani. But that's that. Bryce Harper wins. The NL just had no candidates. I think I liked Fernando Tatis a little more this year. But he's young, and I feel like they didn't want to give it to him yet. I don't know. Maybe that's not a real take, but I thought his numbers compared favorably to Harper, and both of them didn't make the playoffs, and the Padres fell apart, so maybe Tatis doesn't deserve it because they should have made the playoffs. Harper's numbers for this MVP, I don't believe are as good as his other MVP year. He hit 309 compared to 330. His OPS about 50 points lower. 42 homers to 35, 99 ribbies to 84. I mean, 84 RBIs wins the MVP. Kind of weird, right? It's got to be. Let's look at NL, I guess. This is going to take way too long to go through, but we'll go through the last few. Freeman, Bellinger, Yelich, Stanton, Bryant. And we can do MLB RBI leaders by year. Because I don't think Bryce was anywhere near, and he had no one on base. Like there's an advanced number of how many opportunities he had compared to how efficient he was in knocking them in. I can't remember what it is. And he was very high in that number, but he just didn't have any opportunity. So I'm not holding RBIs against him. It's just a funny thing that seemed to happen. Yeah, I mean, he's National League 113. He's like 30 behind. So we're not going to compare them because it's pointless. But I don't know. I just found it a little weird when Tatis, I just thought was a little bit better of a player. And he plays shortstop, which is a better position. And he's above average at shortstop for sure. He hit 282 with a 975. Bryce hit 309 with a 1,004. That is better. 35 homers, 84 RBIs. I believe Tatis had those numbers beat. 42 homers, 97 RBIs. But he had 25 steals. I think Bryce had like 10 or something, which is good, actually, for him. 13, yeah. But Tatis was one of the, by the metrics, which I'm not going to pull up because it's a football day, one of the best base runners in the league. Not just steals, but like advancing first to third and second to home and first to home and stuff like that. So he does more on the base paths, does more in the field, and arguably equal with the bat. I would have probably given it to him, but Bryce is good, and I'm surprised this team isn't better with Joe Girardi. I thought they were going to be better. They need pitching. They just have nobody. It's weird. Okay. This we talked about briefly. St. Bonaventure won last night. Kansas won last night. West Virginia won last night. Grizzlies killed the Clippers. They had nobody playing. We talked about it. Ja Morant is unbelievable. And now they have Dylan Brooks back and Jaren Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane, who I like, and Steven Adams, who can definitely play many minutes at center for you. With Clark on the bench, Kyle Anderson, Killian Tilly, Xavier Tillman can play, Tyus Jones can play, Melton can play. They're a deep, weird team, but with Brooks back, I really think the Grizzlies are good. And Warriors, unbelievable. 36-8 in the fourth quarter. Curry goes for 40 again on a bum hip. He's not playing tonight. Draymond's not playing tonight. They're letting the dogs off. And maybe they'll get a win anyway. Who knows? But when you go to 13-2, you can probably do that a little bit. And Curry's just been unbelievable, man. Another 9-3 game. He has more 9 3-pointer games this season than anyone else does in their careers. Which is, I mean, what do you even say? Let's talk quickly about Pats Falcons, and then I want to jump into picks and all the games and spreads and all that jazz. This was such a beatdown that 3 different Falcons quarterbacks threw interceptions in the game. They bring in poor Felipe Franks. Oh, he gets a snap. It did not go well. 1 pass, 1 pick. Josh Rosen was in there for 3 passes. He got picked. They have nothing. It's insane that they drafted Kyle Pitts instead of a quarterback to me this year. Kyle Pitts is really, really awesome, but you're delaying the problem. Matt Ryan is not good. And I knew it, and I said it in Thursday's stream. Bill Belichick against a bad Matt Ryan without Cordarrelle Patterson and without Calvin Ridley. What did we think was going to happen here? Mac Jones looks efficient again. He looked fiery. He threw a bad interception and got really mad, which I like to see from him. Like, he's starting to believe. It's the Neo thing. He really, let me tell you, I don't need to wax poetic about this defense because they dominated Atlanta, and Atlanta hasn't scored in like 7 quarters. But I made a wager today on the Patriots to win the AFC. It kills me to do it. It kills me to do it. But this defense is so legitimate because they're really big. They really can punish finesse teams. And people forget early in the season how cold it gets and how grinded out these games become. And when you have a team like this with a coach who has done this before, the 2001 team is the same. It really was pretty much the same. And Mac Jones, I keep saying it, is ahead of where Brady was at that time. He's completing every pass. He doesn't have a lot of good receivers, which could hold them back, but that also allows him to just make the right read and make the right pass. There's nothing they need to do. They run the ball really well. Their offensive line protects really well. Their defense is elite. They're missing a corner because Gilmore left. Maybe that hurts them eventually. And I'm not saying they're definitely going to win the AFC, but I got it at plus 750. And, I mean, you look at the schedule, they're 7-4. They're rolling. They might be the hottest team in the NFL. They have 5 wins in a row, including a drubbing of the Browns, so it's not like you can say they beat nobody. They beat the Chargers. They play the Titans here. That's a big game, but I think they should win. And you got 2 left with the Bills. Then you got the Jags and the Dolphins to beat up before you go into the playoffs, and you can get healthy in these 2 games, if necessary. These Bills games are huge, but if they split with the Bills, aren't we good? Especially if the Bills struggle this week against Indy. Who knows what happens in that game? We'll talk about it. I just think plus 725 when you're looking at the whole AFC too. So you figure, even if they're the wild card, eventually all they have to do is probably play Buffalo. So that's not that big a deal because Bill Belichick against Buffalo, I'm not that worried about it. I'm really not. I could see Josh Allen having a bad game against Belichick. Why not? And you look at the other AFC teams and you're like, okay, if they win the division, great. And then they still might have to play Buffalo the other way, but they would be home. Or if they don't, all they have to do is either beat Buffalo, they can beat Baltimore. Belichick against Lamar is a similar kind of thing. I don't think that's crazy. They would kill Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and they already killed Cleveland. Titans, unless Derrick Henry is back and healthy, that's a good matchup probably. Vrabel versus Belichick would be really fun. But I'll take plus 725 if we get to that point, and those are the odds I'm getting. I think they kill Carson Wentz. These 2 teams aren't in contention. Chiefs, they've already had knockdown, drag-out games with them. It was with Brady, but still. And the Chiefs' defense is bad. I could see Belichick being a problem there. I definitely can. Depends on where it is. You have to go in the road if Kansas City's rolling. I get that that's hard, but still. And I trust them against the Chargers. They already beat them. I trust them against the Raiders and the Broncos. There's nobody here that you have to beat. It's Buffalo and Kansas City and Tennessee. And at plus 725, I just think that's a steal. I really hate to see this happening again, but I think their team is really, really good, and they're going. So that's it. Not much to talk about with this. It was a blowout, and it should have been. Now they get a week and a half to prepare for the next game. Let's go into picks for this week. I'm trying to see some new angles. I'm trying to see some new trends. I'm trying to think in a little bit of a different way. I'm trying to adjust to the new normal that is the NFL. And this Detroit-Cleveland game up top, I keep wanting to take Detroit because they really battle. They really do. They fight more than they get credit for. But the problem is Chubb is back for the Browns, and I think Jared Goff is not playing. He's doubtful, and we're talking about Tim Boyle and David Blau, I think. That's just going to be really bad. This Cleveland defense is wonky. Sometimes they're great, sometimes they're bad, but they have a lot of really good personnel, and Myles Garrett will scare the crap out of a backup quarterback in Detroit with no weapons. Their only method to win is just hit Hawkinson 1,000 times over the middle as the blitz is coming in. But they didn't even get him a catch last week against Pittsburgh. I think Cleveland's defense is probably better than Pittsburgh's, or at least comparable. And their offense is just going to run down Cleveland's throat. That's the problem. That's why the number is big and getting bigger. It's just always getting bigger. Because with the backup quarterback, you can't even think about taking Detroit here. So mark off Cleveland. I don't want to give double digits. Especially don't want to give 2 touchdowns with Baker Mayfield. I'm not going to. I'm not going to bet it. But for pool purpose, you can't take Detroit with a backup quarterback. And with Chubb back, they really might just run down their throat. And this game could be like literally 28-3 before you even know what happened. And you're like, oh, they've controlled the ball for 90% of the first half. A couple 3-and-outs and long drives. And you're like, oh, what happens? 21-3. And it's the second quarter with 4 minutes left and the Browns have the ball again. So, yeah, there's not that much to talk about there. This game is more interesting. San Francisco, Jacksonville. I want to look up Trevor Lawrence's stats for a minute. Because San Francisco is in play to be an obvious teaser team. Spoilers for later. They're coming off of a huge win against the Rams, who they match up very well with. This is an entirely different team. But the only thing I have against San Francisco is that if they had gotten blown out by the Rams, let's just say they, not even blown out, just say they lose by 10. This spread seems dramatically different. Everyone was so far down on the 49ers. I mean, before that game, it was like their season was over. Jimmy's got to go. Kyle Shanahan needs to be fired. I mean, these are just my takes, maybe, and it's true. So part of me still lives there, like, oh, they're not as good as they looked last week. Let's be honest. The cards just aligned for them. Pun not intended and not even correct. They played the Rams, but you get it. I mean, this was 1, 2, 3, 4 losses in a row, a win against Chicago, and a loss to Arizona that was really bad. We were ready to write them off. They come back and beat the Rams, but if we're not ready to write them off, and let's not forget that since then, Jacksonville has beaten Buffalo, and they lost by not that much to the Colts this week. They had the ball driving to win the game, right? So, and they fumbled the game away, fine. But they were in Indy territory, down 6 with the ball and a minute left. And Lawrence has struggled because there's nobody there. He has no help, and he has no offensive coordinator to call good plays for him. That coaching staff has done him wrong. But he's going to have a game eventually where he looks pretty good. He's going to have a game eventually where he uncorks some big passes and makes the big plays. I heard a stat somewhere that he's still making the big play down the field and he's just failing at almost everything else, which makes sense. But this defense of the 49ers is good, but their secondary I still think is very vulnerable. And for some reason, I'm just a little scared here. I'm waiting for Lawrence to make a play at some point. And to get back to the real point, San Francisco beats a Rams team after being in a complete tailspin. Jacksonville improves over both of the last 2 weeks. If San Francisco lost that game, this is telling us that if you give Jacksonville, say, 1 point for home field advantage, and you give San Francisco 2.5, that would be 3.5 points. You're saying San Francisco is -10 home against Jacksonville? I just don't know if San Francisco should be -10 against anyone or should be minus almost a full touchdown on the road at all. Eli Mitchell is not playing in this game. They have no running backs. Jeff Wilson is back for them, but I love Kittle and Debo. I really do. I really do. But this Jacksonville defense is a little bit feistier than they've gotten credit for. And I'm willing to take San Francisco to win the game because I'll fade Jacksonville to win football games for sure. But if this game looks almost like the Colts game from last week, is anyone going to be that shocked? And the Colts only won by 6, and that was in Indianapolis. So I think I'm going to actually have to take the 6.5 with Jacksonville. But I love San Francisco on a tease to win. We'll get back to that later. I think I'm going to try to middle that game. I really see San Francisco by 3, maybe 4, where they force Lawrence to drive for a touchdown instead of a field goal at the end of the game. They fail. San Francisco kneels out the clock. Debo celebrates because he got 200 yards. That's what it feels like. Indianapolis-Buffalo is one of the better games of the week, most interesting games of the week for sure. I feel like this is a disrespectful line, if I'm being honest. Buffalo is really, really good. They really are really good. But Indy is also they have the best rushing attack in the league. Now, the Bills have the best run defense around. I think second best, maybe top 3 or something like that. But that is going to be the clash. Can Buffalo stop the run? Can Indy establish the run? If Indy establishes the run and can go on long drives and Wentz doesn't have to make all the plays down the field, although Pittman, I don't know. We'll see how Pittman and Tre'Davious White goes. That'll be an interesting matchup too. Buffalo matches up really, really well against Indy, so that's why the spread is 7. But I don't know if Indy should be a touchdown dog against really anyone at this point. Their defense is going to be put to the test this week. It's succeeded against some bad teams, but the metrics look a little leaky here and there. Their depth at corner isn't great. But Buffalo doesn't have great skill players. After Diggs, who could blow the game open like he did against the Jets, I don't see what there is to be scared of with Buffalo. It's a Josh Allen run, probably. And these two teams played in the playoffs last year, yeah? I think they did. Yep. And it was a tight game in Buffalo. Let's look at what happened in that game. Colts, Bills, divisional round box score. How we doing? That's the one. This was Rivers, obviously, who played very well. And it's a different defense. How did Josh Allen do? Pretty well. Pretty well. Yeah, and Taylor's way better now, right? And Rivers and Wentz are similar. Similar enough. 7 seems like so much. It just does. And the Bills have 2 offensive linemen out of this game, I believe. So this isn't necessarily a fade of anybody. I think this is just a close, good game, probably. I feel like Indy's not going to get blown out by many people. They're going to control the ball so long, and Taylor's a problem. I also think Star Lotulelei might not play for Buffalo, which, unbelievable name, but that's going to hurt their front a little bit, right? It has to have some kind of impact. And I think Edmonds is either questionable or doubtful. questionable, but I don't think he's been practicing. Limited Friday. He might try to suit up, but he's banged up, and that's important for them over the middle too. And this is a team you need to have your box set. Look, if Buffalo comes out and smashes Indy, then I'll believe in them a lot more. And I like Brian Daboll as a play caller, but I don't necessarily trust Josh Allen. I've said it 100 times. I think he could throw a bad interception or fumble in a relatively close game, and I would sooner take Indy to win this game than I would Buffalo -7. I don't think either one is going to happen. I'm just talking about for the odds. I imagine it'll be like a 3-point win for Buffalo probably, and I feel pretty comfortable taking Indy, and you could potentially tease them up. The only reason I'm not going to do that is because they're such a running team, and if Buffalo gets out ahead and Wentz really has to throw against a fierce defense, that is a bad recipe. That's how Buffalo would cover. You got to get an early lead. They should be really aggressive early. But I'll still take Indy +7. I think there's more permutations where that hits. Miami and the Jets, I'm not going to do time on this game. Joe Flacco's starting for the Jets. I actually didn't hate the reasoning. I really didn't. I bought it. I'm eating it up. I don't know why. Saleh said that he needs a quarterback that is really good against the blitz. We've been talking about it for a couple days, and I talked about it from the Jets game last week, which I think they stole from Miami, and now I kind of know that they did. When Miami just blitzed like crazy against the Ravens, and then the Jets did the same thing against the Bills the next week, and now Saleh is referencing that. I think they really did take that game plan from them. But we know Flores is going to send heat at a backup, and it's the Jets who have a bad offensive line. So he's putting Flacco in there because he thinks he can handle a blitz better than Wilson and Mike White. And Wilson is not ready yet. I think they're just sitting them down and just throwing Joe Flacco to the Wolves because they think he can check down a little bit better than those guys and get a hot route to a tight end and break a blitz. And he's probably right. He really is probably right. The real question is like, how you're trying to win this game that bad? Like is that even the goal anymore? Shouldn't you be trying to develop the young quarterbacks? Let Mike White take the lumps then. Like, okay. And look, if you're trying to win the football game, then all right, start Joe Flacco. I get it. And I do think he'll do better against a defense that looks good when it looks good, but is vulnerable if you break that blitz. I'm not saying Joe Flacco's going to do it, but I'm saying Elijah Moore's pretty fast, and Flacco can at least throw it down the field and pray. This feels like a game where the Jets get a 40-yard pass interference and like cover for no reason, even though they lose. And really, look, this is so bad. Just throw this out the window if you want to, okay? Because I'm going to pick the Jets, and it's ridiculous. I get it. They give up 50 every game. It is not lost on me. But I can't take Miami as a 3-point road favorite in the NFL. I just cannot. They're bad. I really don't think they're good. Their defense is a little bit better. But their offense is terrible. This is going to be a low-scoring game. I like the under. I won't do it. And this is like the ultimate zag. No one's going to have the Jets. But the line hasn't gone up. It stayed where it is. Now, I don't think anyone's betting Miami either necessarily, so that's probably why. And it did go up to 3.5, which I really like. But Miami doesn't do it. I don't like taking road favorites of teams that aren't good. Like bad teams on the road as a favorite is not my MO. Which is why I was scared of San Francisco. I don't know if they're a good team. It's the same kind of mentality. So I'm going to take the Jets plus the points for pool purposes at least. If you put any of your money anywhere in that game, except for the under. I kind of like the under. You have a problem. Washington, Carolina. This is another bad one that I can't spend too much time on, but we're getting too excited about Cam Newton now, people. I mean, there's action coming in on Carolina. He's starting in this game. He hasn't actually played a full football game in a year. He played like 9 plays in the other game. They were all red zone carries, basically, or play action stuff. Washington's coming off of a win against Tampa, which you can call their Super Bowl, and so they'll come out flat on the road in Carolina. Fine. Maybe. But they also did drive for like an 18-yard drive to win the game against a pretty solid defense, at least a solid front seven, bad secondary. It was a 10-minute drive to win the game. I mean, they earned the win. It wasn't totally fluky. And in a game where I just don't trust these teams. Now, look, if McCaffrey runs absolutely wild, Chase Young is out, this Washington defense is gutted. They really are gutted. So if McCaffrey runs absolutely wild and Cam just doesn't make horrible throws, they probably will win the game. but I'm giving more than 3 with Carolina. Let's not forget what Cam Newton is. He's going to spike the ball in front of his receiver probably at least 4 times on first down. And then he's going to run it for 3 yards, and then it's 3rd and long with Cam Newton as your quarterback, and you're not that comfortable anymore. McCaffrey has to dominate this game for them to cover. Now, maybe he will, but I can envision this being a close game. I can definitely envision Washington winning the game. Also, it's Ron Rivera versus Cam Newton. Nobody knows him better than Ron Rivera. If he can't game plan for a bad version of the quarterback he used to be good with, then I don't know what to tell you. So we'll see. If you're just taking this for McCaffrey, I get it. But that is the only thing that I see that I'm happy with the Carolina team. Their defense is solid. They're the better team. But if I just see this being a close game, why would it be a blowout in any direction? And what if Scary Terry gets going? He hasn't had like a super breakout game. Is it going to shock me if they get in a rhythm? Not really. Carolina's defense isn't that good. I don't know if Matt Rule is a better coach than Ron Rivera, especially with the Cam Newton factor. And also, here's the real thing. I just can't bet Cam Newton as a 3.5-point favorite in the NFL right now. I'm not going to. I can't do it. I would sooner take Washington money line. I just don't understand. I can't. And people that can, God bless you. Really. Because I was fading them hard when Darnold was there. And I don't know, like, Cam is better than Darnold, but how much better? In terms of NFL points, like 2? Like that, and that's a lot. I don't know. He doesn't move the needle that far to where I'm like, Carolina wins this by 20. So give me Washington. Baltimore, Chicago, I don't have a good finger on the pulse of this game at all, truthfully. This is my stay away game. The only thing I like about it, since I have to pick, I'm getting Chicago at home, a notoriously difficult place to play as the weather gets colder, which it's starting to turn. And on the lake, Chicago, on Sunday, I bet it'll be cold there. Baltimore's defense is bad. It's actually bad. It got covered up against Miami because they are a bad offense, which is why I'm not picking them against the Jets. But I've seen enough from Justin Fields. Actually, let's get the game log. And I don't even know if this will tell the story because it was just little pieces of each game. I mean, why are you giving me the college one, man? It's my fault, but still. Last week at Pittsburgh. Oh, they were on a bye last week, right? Yep. Because the last game was the game where they got robbed. The Cassius Marsh penalty. You know, Fields drives to win the game, and then Pittsburgh just gets free yardage, kicks a field goal, and wins. His completion percentage isn't all the way there, right? But we're not expecting him to be ultra efficient. And the weeks before, it's actually pretty good. Look at this. 64, 60, 59, 68.75, 70, and 58. And he got hot at the end of this 58 game. He's been figuring it out. Now he's going to turn the ball over because he's a kid. But I've also seen the flashes of the upside. And Lamar can turn it over too. This feels like I could see... I'm not saying that Fields is Lamar. I think they have different attributes entirely. But I can see it being the game where the kid is emulating the guy who's won the MVP. He's running all over the place. He's completing long passes down the field to Mooney, or Robinson maybe finally makes a play. He's been awful. I don't know. I've seen enough from Fields that I'm comfortable taking him +6 to maybe backdoor against a weak Baltimore defense. I really just don't like their defense. It just hasn't been very good. So now I saw something about bye weeks. And they don't have great records. I don't know if I wrote it down here somewhere. Well, overall stats, I have underdogs are 86, 63, and 1 on the season in general. So it is time to buy into road teams, and it is time to buy into dogs. And both of those have been extreme high value, gambling-wise, this year. But I had a note on the bye weeks. which I hadn't been factoring in. When the CBA got announced, teams are not allowed to practice really or meet or do much over that actual bye week. They get the week that they're back, of course, but they're giving players actual time off now, which didn't used to be the case. It was just practice. You practice and you get better over that week. I'm wondering if the bye week is not nearly as much of a positive anymore, and in some cases it might just be a detriment because everyone's not locked in and focused. They took a week off. They're a little sluggish getting going for practice that week. They will get healthier, so sometimes it's going to be very good for the teams. And maybe the break gives them some kind of added value mentally. But that lack of practice and cohesion, I don't know if you'll be able to predict it anymore. For some teams, it's going to be good. For some teams, it's going to be bad. And there's going to be a lot of factors that go into that, which I don't know if I'll ever be able to figure out. So just keep in mind that bye weeks are a little scarier these days than they used to be. And I'm only really just figuring that out, which is kind of my bad. But, you know, we're trying. It's week 10. You learn new things. Anywho, give me Chicago plus the 6 against Baltimore. I just need to see Baltimore do it. Go in there and blow them out then. We'll see. Their defense is bad, I'm telling you. Chicago might score in that game. New Orleans, Philly. Okay. Everybody understand what the Eagles did to me last week. I was so hard against them. Their defense has been really bad. They let up a lot of points. They let the play stay in front of them at all times, so their overall numbers aren't terrible. But they were allowing 75% completions as of last week. This defense is not good. Don't be fooled. They beat Denver in a game where Denver has 2 touchdowns called back. Teddy Bridgewater fumbles and then doesn't want to make a tackle. It was a weird game. A lot of penalties. It was a really weird game. That was my big pick last week, and it didn't go well. But I'm not going to completely abandon ship on the fact that Philly isn't good. Okay? Let's look at this. People are high on them for a couple reasons. They whooped Detroit. I don't care. They beat Carolina with Sam Darnold starting. I don't care. This win against Denver is weird. We just went over that. Don't throw it out the window, but just understand that Denver's run D was horrific in that game. Weird stuff happened, and Philly has been committing to the run. They're one of the best rushing teams over the last 3 weeks. But the last 3 weeks, they have faced Detroit, who can't stop anything. Chargers' run D is one of the worst defenses in the league. And Denver just inexplicably fell apart completely. That's soft defense. And when they can run the ball like that, of course Hurts is going to look a lot better. He's going to be able to find Devontae Smith down the field. They can do more things. He has confidence. The offense is moving. I'm not ready to buy Jalen Hurts stock yet. I'm not. I've seen too much up and down from him. Okay? So to take him as a favorite in an NFL game to me is a little scary when you consider that the Saints have the best run defense in the NFL. So, if what I'm saying is correct, Philly will have a hard time running. If they're forced into long 3rd and longs, I'm willing to fade Hurts as long as my team can probably move the ball a little bit. Here's the problem. Alvin Kamara is out. That's bad. They did score last week against Tennessee. Let's look back at that game. Because the Titans are a pretty good defense. And Simeon's been pretty good. He really has. 19 for 34 for 302 touchdowns. Is he worse than Jameis? I don't even know. Taysom Hill is a little bit questionable too. You really need him to play if Kamara's not playing because you need a couple of gadget things. You really do need it. But they scored 21 last week. Ingram isn't Kamara, but he's also not useless. They can run the football. And especially if Taysom is in, they can do some weird stuff. Trevor Siemian has been pretty good, and he's been throwing it down the field. which Jameis actually wasn't doing. I acknowledge that seems backwards, but it's not true. They had a 46-yard completion, a 34, that was to Ingram, but still. He had a couple 20s down the field. He was throwing it down the field in this game. He's looked pretty solid. I was fading Trevor Siemian earlier, but now I'm kind of like, well, actually, they just have a more efficient quarterback than Jameis, who probably won't turn it over as much and has seen the willingness to get it down the field when he sees an opportunity. Losing Kamara hurts. It does. And I feel like a lot of money is going to come in on the Eagles. I really feel that way. I wouldn't take this game now. If you're in an office pool, give me the Saints. Hopefully you get it at 2 or 3 instead of it opened at a pick'em and then moved quickly to like 1 and stayed there for a while. But if you want to wager on this game, I think you're going to get really nice odds on the Saints. People just say Kamara's out, that's going to hurt them, big deal. It is. But I really just trust their run defense against a team that has only been trying to run the ball and get their offense going that way. If Philly throws up a stinker and can't really run it against the best run defense in the league, I'm not going to be shocked. And if New Orleans can control the clock, even if it's Mark Ingram and Trevor Siemian, I think I trust that offense even more than Philly's if they struggle to run the ball. I don't think it's going to be Hurts scrambling around all day finding people down the field. If he does that, then I'm going to have to adjust how I feel about Hurts. But I'm not there yet against a defense that can really hold its own. And this defensive line is very good. If they get some pressure even, I can see turnovers. The coaching battle, I like Sean Payton. I know I'm hyping this up because it's going to be one of my picks later. I really like the Saints. And I really also like that everyone is going to go towards the Eagles, I think. You're going to see Kamara out. You're going to see that line move. I'm telling you. We record this on Friday. By Sunday, I imagine that will be 3.5, 4. If it gets that far, give me the points. For now, I'm actually going to end up taking New Orleans to even win the game, I think. But I definitely like them with the points. Let's talk about Houston and Tennessee. This is another situation. Houston's coming off a bye, right? I go, okay, they're in good shape. They should be better. Who knows? Maybe they're not. Maybe they needed that time, especially Tyrod Taylor back. He will be fully healthy now, so I think that's a good thing for them. Maybe he was a little gimpy still coming back in that first game. He looked really bad. Let's look up that game. Let's see if I can find Houston through here. Yeah, I mean, he is more capable than what they had before, right? But he turned the ball over 3 times here. And that's not what you want. So if he's turning the ball over, they are dead in the water. We know this. Tennessee, at some point, it needs to catch up with you how many injuries you have, right? McNichols isn't even playing in this game. Not that he's been a superstar for them. They have Deontay Foreman and Adrian Peterson, but they do lose their passing back. They only have A.J. Brown. That's the only guy they can throw it to. He's the only thing that they can do. If Houston can find a way to double him, they can't cover 10. Maybe Tyrod Taylor runs around. Tennessee defense is pretty good. I don't know. I don't love this game. I'm forced to pick a side. I just feel like Tennessee is going to have a letdown eventually. It definitely might not be at home against Houston. I acknowledge that. But they're so banged up, and to take a team like this that I've been waiting to crash back down to earth that is hurting this bad as a 10-point favorite, I just don't really want to do. I don't want to take Houston either, but for now I'm leaning in that direction. Do whatever you think is right for this game, but I think I'd sooner take the 10 than leave the 10. I just feel like Tyrod Taylor will have a game where you're like, oh yeah, he can play a little. And maybe it's not this week. It might not be. And Tennessee's letdown might not be, because they could just run over Houston. It's very possible. But I'll take the 10. I just have a feeling Tyrod getting healthier, he'll shake that 3-interception game off. I don't think he's that bad. I don't. And Tennessee has to have a letdown eventually, where it's like, even if they win close, it has to happen, right? We'll see. Green Bay, Minnesota. This is another one where I'm trying to zag the public. I feel like everyone is going to be on Minnesota ultimately in this game. I feel like Minnesota might actually end up a favorite by kickoff. Maybe I'm totally off base here. But I feel like it's a trendy pick that feels like a zag because you're going against Green Bay, but then you realize, oh, everyone's actually on Minnesota for the same reason. Green Bay has just printed money. They really have. Let's see if I can get against the spread. Someone, I'm sure, has it. I need to find a good go-to. Okay. It's not what I want. It doesn't matter. I'll find it off stream and then I'll be able to use it moving forward. Or I'll forget and we'll do this again. They definitely cover this. They win 17-0. They did cover this game in Kansas City because it was Jordan Love. They did actually cover, which is ridiculous. At Arizona, they cover. They were underdogs. They win by 14 here. They cover. They win by 10 at Chicago. That's a cover. I don't know if they covered against Cincinnati. I think they probably did, right? They were on the road. I can't imagine that was more than 3. Maybe it was a push or something. Or maybe they didn't. I'm not sure what the spread was. Pittsburgh, they win by 10. That's a cover. They don't cover at San Francisco, but it was a 2-point game and they won it. They cover here and they get blown out by the Saints in the first game, which is just almost inexplicable now at this point. It's like it was forever ago. I just see this being Rodgers' middle finger game. This is the FU game. He just rips Minnesota apart, right? Just like he did with Chicago and just screams how he owns Chicago. Minnesota's defense is getting healthier. These are the reasons I think it'll be a trendy pick, right? I'll make the case for Minnesota and then I'm going to flip it. Spoiler alert. Minnesota can run the ball. All their stats suggest that they can move the ball pretty well offensively. They can control the football. They have Dalvin Cook. Their defense is getting much healthier. Anthony Barr might be playing. Harrison Smith is playing. They have some guys getting back. Should be a close divisional game, and you're getting points at home with a team that hasn't lost by more than 7 the whole entire season. That is the Minnesota pitch. Here's why I don't buy it. 2 reasons. What is Gary Kubiak's son's name? I won't even spell your name right. Clint Kubiak. Clint Kubiak is the offensive coordinator for the Minnesota Vikings. They call horrible plays. Unless he adjusts majorly from week to week, which maybe he will improve eventually. You watch their games and you're like, they have Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen and Justin Jefferson. That's really awesome. And then you watch them and you're like, why aren't they doing anything? They just never do it. And you can get lulled into taking Minnesota because all the talent is there. But when they consistently screw it up over and over and over, why do you continue to take them? They blow all the games. They haven't trailed by a lot, and they've led by 7 a million times. But they blow all the games. And you're facing Green Bay, who is really good, has a really good defense of their own. Aaron Rodgers is supposedly healthy, still working his way back from COVID. Who knows how that's going to impact him. Devontae Adams is healthy. Why is this a spot to fade Rodgers now all of a sudden? I don't buy it. I've seen him go into divisional stadiums and rip them limb from limb. And he struggled badly last week in a game they won 17-0 against another really good quarterback in Russell Wilson, who admittedly didn't play well, but still. Why is Green Bay going to be terrified of Jefferson and Thielen so much, with Kirk Cousins, so much more than they were Russell Wilson, DK Metcalf, and Tyler Lockett? Now, if you want to say it was just the injury that changed that game, fine. But I'll still take injured Russell Wilson over Kirk Cousins most of my days. And I'm just saying it's somewhat comparable. And they shut them out. I don't know why Minnesota is necessarily... I don't consider them good because they lose close games. People like to feel like they're due for something. To me, that's like, you consistently keep screwing it up. How many times do I need to see it? So I actually just trust Rodgers to find a way to pull the game out of his hat. And I trust Minnesota to try to find a way to blow the game. And since I like Green Bay's coaching better, and I like the quarterback better, and I think they have the best skill player. Now, Aaron Jones is not playing in this game. Another reason why a lot of people, I think, will be on Minnesota. However, I believe that A.J. Dillon is pretty much every bit as good as Aaron Jones. That is a real stretch, but it is. I really am starting to believe it, especially in this game, because he runs angry and hard. And against a Minnesota defense that's going to be playing tough up front probably and keying in on him because they know Jones isn't there, he's going to have to play hard, and he's going to have to take hits, and he's going to have to be consistent, and he's going to have to churn out plays for a long time and carry a heavy workload. And I just trust him to do that. Didn't he do it a ton in college? I know it's not the same thing, but he got the ball a absolute ton. Yeah, he had 300 carries 2 different years at Boston College. I mean, this guy can handle a workload and work through it and stay pretty healthy. Now, they're thin behind him, but I really believe that if he can handle all the work, he will be. If you don't have him in fantasy, go get him. Like, trade for him before the deadline. I really think even when Jones comes back, this is going to be much more of a 50-50 share. It already sneakily was a 50-50 share pretty much. And I won't be shocked at all next year if they're like, A.J. Dillon, we need to find a way to get him the ball more. And they just start running down people's throats because I really think he's good. So I think he's going to turn some heads. And I'll take Green Bay here. I trust Minnesota to blow it. I just do. Cincinnati, Vegas, another game I really like. We're getting to the 4 o'clocks finally. I'm going to make this one short and sweet. Vegas is in an absolute tailspin. I don't understand why this is a 1-point spread. I could see Vegas really spinning out horribly for a million different reasons. Their defense completely gave up against the Chiefs last week. We talked to death about it, how Vegas should have been back in that game, but just refused to be. Deshaun Jackson fumbles the game away when it was close, yada, yada. I think their defense just looks completely overmatched at times. They're going to have nobody to guard Chase. He's going to end up running wild. I like their pass rush. Their only way into this game is if Max Crosby gets 3 sacks or something and Burrow is fighting for his life. But I just think Cincinnati can move the football in a bunch of different ways. They're going to be able to move it. I see worlds where Vegas just gets blown out a lot of times for the rest of the year. Like, just because of all the stuff that's happened to them and their roster becoming thin and what I saw against them last week. I just don't see it being a bounce back time. I just think Cincinnati is the better team, and Vegas has no home field advantage at all. None. I don't see why this is a hard one. If you wanted to take Cincinnati at positive odds at -10, I would get that. I just see a lot of outcomes where they just roll Vegas, and Vegas just goes completely tailspin into the ground. So maybe this is more narrative than on the field stuff. I also just don't think they can defend Chase, and if he gets 2 touchdowns, this is how they get rolled into the ground. So, Cincinnati had the lapse against the Jets. We haven't been as high on them, but let's not forget how high on them we were before. And if they're getting a team that I think might be bad right now to play against, they might be able to handle that. So I'll take my chances here with Cincinnati when I don't have to really give any points to fade Vegas. I feel like for the rest of the year, you're going to have to give points to fade Vegas. This might be the last shot, so I'm taking it. Arizona, Seattle. I love Russell Wilson. I really do. And because of that, I think he will bounce back. I can't imagine he's going to get shut out for the first time in his career and be ultra happy about it. If he really worked himself back too fast and isn't ready to throw the deep ball at all, and it's inaccurate when he has one of the most pretty deep balls in NFL history as far as I'm concerned, he does. He's the best. He really is the best quarterback ever. I can't fade him getting points at home against a defense that has given up a lot of points. They're so banged up. Kyler, who knows if he's healthy at all. Even if he plays, you can knock him out of the game. We've proven that. And honestly, he never plays well when he's still banged up. I won't be shocked if they sit him anyway, but in any capacity, either way, you're talking about 2 injured quarterbacks, because if it's Colt McCoy, then, I'll trust Russell Wilson in a shootout with Colt McCoy. And if it's injured Russ versus injured Kyler, I'll actually take injured Russ. And Seattle's defense has been turning it around lately. And they're home for a divisional game. The crowd will start to get loud. And if they want any chance to compete for the rest of the season, this is a must-win game for Seattle. They have no more games to lose. They pretty much need to run the table and pull out some wins that you really didn't think they were going to get. It's time to turn it on. And if it could go, the season's over if you lose this game. Arizona is not in that capacity. Hopkins is already not playing. Edmonds is already not playing. They have injuries on the defense. I just think this is like a Russ reminds you who he is game. And if it's Colt McCoy, Seattle could win by 1,000,000. And if it's injured Kyler, which I think it is, I'll still take Russ in this shootout. You're telling me I get one of those amazing quarterbacks at home with his weapons available? Chris Carson's not playing, but DK and Tyler Lockett are there. And as a dog, I mean, yeah, give me the points. Give me the points. Give me Seattle at whatever you can get me at. I saw them at, like, in my pool, I thought they were like 4. No, they were 2.5. But I think that spread has gone up a little bit. Now it's probably gone back down because of the Hopkins news, and we'll see what happens with Kyler. But I'll lock in Seattle as a home dog pretty much always if Russell Wilson's on the field with his weapons. Dallas, Kansas City. Who knows? If you tell me you know something about Dallas, Kansas City, you're just speaking nonsense. This is a game you just watch. Just watch it. I have to make a pick for pool purposes. I'm not going to bet on this. It's insane to bet on this game. You have no idea what Kansas City is. They're facing a defense that is completely injured. They can ravage Dallas at home. They could. They absolutely could. Dan Quinn doesn't play a too high safety system, which has been working all season against Kansas City. Is he going to adapt? I don't know. He's blown a lot of different things before. I won't be surprised if he just commits to his defense and gets crushed up the sidelines. But we'll see. Dallas can definitely score on Kansas City. It should be a really fun shootout. The over number is incredibly high, so I don't really want to touch that. It's already at 57. It's probably going to go up. I mean, it's probably a fun bet, I guess. But if you get a quarter where they don't score, it's like, oh, okay, that was fun. I don't know. What do you do with this game? What do you do? The only reason I'm going to take Kansas City for pool purposes is because I'm getting Patrick Mahomes at home with a relatively healthy offense. Hilaire might actually play in this game, which would be a big boost if he's healthy. And even if he doesn't, you get him at home at less than a field goal. This is like a short-term, like, remember how good this line was and how did we get that? Because Dallas deserves the credit. They do. Like, this should be a great game. I'm not feeling great about it either way. But I guess gun to head, I'll take Mahomes at -2.5 at home against mostly anyone ever. So I guess that's all I'm going to go with. And I think that Dan Quinn might just screw the pooch. Now, if they don't, and they decide to play high safeties and just keep the ball in front of them, and they ball hawk a little bit, and Diggs gets a turnover and stuff, I can definitely see Dallas winning the game, of course. This is going to be a great game. This is the game to watch, of course. And I'm glad Arizona-Seattle is here because that might, I mean, who knows? Maybe that'll be close too. And Cincinnati-Vegas will be over in time. And Cincinnati will roll them. You heard it here. Yeah, I guess going to be Kansas City, but who knows? I mean, nobody knows. Don't have anyone tell me they have a strong feeling for that game. They're just excited for it. Pittsburgh and the Chargers. This one is impossible. We don't know if Big Ben will play. I'm filming this on a Friday. So, I mean, what do you do? It's Chargers -6. Ben says he's going to play, but he needs 2 negative tests. It would have to come like today and tomorrow. Who knows what the situation is? If it's Mason Rudolph, I don't really want to bet on Mason Rudolph. Problem is, Pittsburgh can probably run the ball. The Chargers haven't done anything right the past few weeks. This is really, if you're taking the Chargers, you're just banking on them figuring it all out. Like, you have all the things you need, except for the defense. But offensively, you can go score. You should be able to score. Just figure out the play calls, figure out your rhythm. But they haven't. And this is what I've been saying the whole week, is like, this is where I would normally take the Chargers and be like, they'll get there, they'll get there. Will they? It's the same as Minnesota. It's like, oh, they have all the horses. Let's just run them. Like, okay, but they always screw it up, though. I don't feel comfortable taking the Chargers at big a number like 6 or 5.5. If we got them at 3, maybe. But I don't know. I don't love it. I just don't have a good feel for that game. It's the night game. It's a tough one. I wouldn't rely your whole bankroll on making it up at night, but I'd sooner take the underdog. I could see Pittsburgh competing for no reason. You know, they just break long runs against the Chargers, play hard knows football. And their defense is really banged up is the problem. Like, Minkah Fitzpatrick's not playing. TJ Watt's not playing. So the Chargers may just roll them over. I don't feel comfortable in this game in any direction. I really don't. So if I have to give a pick, I'm going to take Pittsburgh for, like, pulling it out for no reason late and, like, somehow they beat the Chargers. Or I don't know. I just see chaos in this game. When I can't decide, I'll probably take a 6-point underdog over a 6-point favorite. The Chargers are just another team that screws it up. If they come out and score 35, which, like, they should, that just never happen to do, but then they'll blow them out and it'll look stupid. But I'll take my chances. Giants in Tampa Bay is Monday. We will talk about that on Monday's stream. But for now, it's hard to know what to do with Tampa. The only reason I'm going to take Tampa in this game at pretty much whatever spread is because Daniel Jones is really prone to turnovers. And while the Tampa defense is really leaky deep, if you can force him to make some bad decisions or fumble a time or two, this game can get away from you really fast. The Giants did compete with them like last year. I think we'll talk more about this on Monday. But for now, I just see a world where Jones just turns it over at bad times, and I think Brady scored like 40 every single time he's been at home this year. Giants defense is pretty good. I don't know. This is a weird one. Not sure. You'll have to tune back in on Monday. And if you need a pick for a pool, go with your gut. That's what I say. So now on to the picks. Full cam. Official picks for this week. We talked about all the games. Sneaking one in off the top. I mentioned it before. Patriots plus 725 to win the AFC. I'm taking it. We talked about it. You know, if you didn't hear it before, go back to it. The Mush picks for week 11. Saints money line plus 110 right now. It will go up. Don't do it until kickoff. I promise you. That line will go up. You'll probably get their money line. I don't even know where. The spread might end up being 3.5 or 4. So maybe you could just take that if you're more comfortable. Whatever capacity you like the Saints, I think they handle the Eagles. Their run D dominates, and they roll right along. Bengals -1 at Raiders. Raiders are in a tailspin. Keep those two games separate. Straight up. No problem. Seven-point teaser. We got the 49ers +1 against the Jaguars. We got the Saints +9 against the Eagles. We got the Packers +6 against the Vikings. We're getting points everywhere. I don't have to give anything. I have the better team against the worst team in all scenarios, and I feel comfortable with that at +140. Lastly, we sneak in the 49ers again, money line, with the Packers parlayed at +150. So the games we like are the Saints, the Bengals, the 49ers, and the Packers. Those 4 games, do it whatever way you please. You'll be happy. Or we'll come back. We will complain about it on Monday. We'll fix it. We'll win one on Monday. And then we'll win Tuesday and Wednesday. And Thursday, we'll see what happens. I'm not really sure. In any case, that's a wrap. Have a fun weekend. Follow me at MikeTheMush Sports on Twitter and Instagram. And hopefully we win. Peace out.